I'm MC Hammurabi, and this is my first Clash Royale video. I'm going to discuss my strategy and the deck I built around the strategy I have, because I haven't really seen anyone else playing with the deck that I have, so I figured I'd make a video that goes over it, and hopefully this might help some of you out to get into Legendary. Yes, this is the strategy and deck that I use to get into Legendary Arena, and it is currently responsible for my trophy record of 3,141 trophies. I have recently acquired an Ice Wizard and a Princess, which I do play from time to time, but we're going to discuss the deck that got me into Legendary, and I did play this deck recently, which should again give me my trophy count. So a little bit about me. I am a Clash of Clans player originally, and I did start playing this game back in March when it was first released in the United States. I got a notification while playing Clash of Clans, so that's when I started, and I haven't stopped. Now, the deck that I built here, I did start building around the time I hit Arena 4, and the last change I made to it was when Sparky was released. I added Zap to my deck, and that was simply to deal with Sparky. Now, as you can see, I do play quite a bit. Most of the wins you see here, the 2,639, most of those are from the deck that I'm going to discuss, and 1,609 3-crown wins, so we're looking at roughly a 60% win ratio, or 3-crown win ratio with this deck. And I did make it to Legendary in the last reset. I got 26 trophies. Obviously, I'm on my way to more. Hopefully, we can keep that going. So now we will discuss the strategy that I have. Now, the way I see it, you should always be trying to build a push or a counter push, and that's what this deck is built around. Always create pressure for your opponent. When you've got a push or a counter push going on, that means that your opponent is always going to have to answer whatever you put on the field. That's why I don't have a structure like an Inferno Tower or a cannon. I mean, if you put an Inferno Tower or a cannon on the field without anything else going on, well, your opponent doesn't even have to answer that. Technically, they can just wait for it to go away. Yes, you can start pushing other things, but they can turn that into a waste of elixir for you. But if you put Wizards, Pekkas, Hog Riders, anything on in this deck is always a threat. Is always a threat when you drop it on the field, other than, I guess, Rage technically, but no one's going to drop Rage unless they have a troop on the field. So anyway, let's get into how this deck works. So first off, we have the heavy tank here. We've got the big bad P.E.K.K.A, does a ton of damage, has a ton of hit points, and is a card that if you ignore it, you're going to lose your tower. Bottom line. So people sacrifice a bunch of troops to try to distract P.E.K.K.A. That's exactly what I want. It does disrupt their game plan one way or another. Even if they say can get an elixir advantage from distracting P.E.K.K.A, it still throws off the game plan and might open up a push in the opposite lane if they don't play it just right. Now, we're not going to just let people go and distract P.E.K.K.A. We're going to throw the wizard out there to make sure that we can take out those goblins, those minions, those skeletons, whatever it is they might throw at P.E.K.K.A. We're going to make it difficult and make them have to figure out a way to answer the wizard as well. Now, sometimes we need to take some shots from further out. If there's not a lot of troops on the field, just a heavier troop, for example, the musketeer can start firing from a further range than the other troops and does a respectable amount of damage, and at 4 elixir, a wonderful value, certainly a great change of pace. And then there are those times when you need a distraction. So rather than just throw away a troop, I have a troop that continues to generate distractions in the form of skeletons. Now, I've had the witch since the beginning for this purpose, so the damage that she does doesn't really matter to me, but now with this new update, if you let her get on your tower is going to suffer serious damage if you do not place a troop to counteract her ability. So, but if you have barbarians or skeletons or goblins, whatever the case may be, the witch is great at countering those and then creating a distraction that you have to deal with. Now, we do have a couple of other tanks. We can't just let the P.E.K.K.A have all the fun. We've got the Hog Rider, which jumps in if I see P.E.K.K.A running out of hit points. I try to get the Hog Rider in front of my softer troops to keep that push going. And the Hog Rider, of course, on its own can do a good amount of damage to your tower if you forget about it. So once again, we have a troop that is capable of more than one duty. And then sometimes you need extra troops on the field. You need a horde, and the horde that fits the bill for me is the barbarians. With this deck strategy, we want something that's strong, that can take over tanking duties. And also, if someone has an Inferno tower, we all know that having extra troops on the field is a necessity. And what better troop than the barbarian, since if they get on that Inferno tower, they can rip it apart. So those are the troops. Now, Rage is in the deck so that when things get dicey, or if you know you've got a good shot, you want to ensure that things get done. Rage gets the job done faster, makes your opponent have to react faster, sometimes panic. And then, of course, since Rage isn't too popular, people don't know how to react to troops when they have that super ability of attacking and moving 40% faster. So the rules go out the window. Even PEKKA becomes a lot more difficult to distract when she's swinging fast and running fast at your tower. And then Zap is a very integral part of this deck. You don't always have your tank tanking. Sometimes when you're trying to create a push, a wizard or witch gets out in front and starts taking damage from the tower, for example. Zap resets that. Of course, it's my favorite thing to use against Sparky, but Zap has grown into so much more with this deck. It's certainly found its place as a real mainstay, and I would not trade it for anything else. So, again, the idea with this deck is to commit yourself to building a push or a counter push. All the elixir you drop is stuff that you want to. It's with the hope that it's going to make it to the other side of the field. Now, that doesn't always happen, but if you play it with that intention, it does seem to work out, as this replay that we're about to watch should illustrate. Now, this replay is a game that I played before I had quite made it to the Legendary Arena. This was on my original trip into Legendary, and it's going to be quite an epic showdown here. Now, we start off with Barbarians. We're going to face a double Prince deck. We don't know that yet. Now, he drops a Valkyrie, which means that these Barbarians are probably toast. I decided not to press it, and I was wise not to, because he had Fire Spirits ready, which completely obliterate the Barbarians. So I've got a Witch in the back. I get the PEKKA in front, which is the best thing I could do. Unfortunately, he has just too much damage. Two princes, the Valkyrie and Stab Goblins. That PEKKA's toast. He also zaps the Witch for good measure, and that lets his Princess charge right onto our tower and do a bunch of damage. He's got us under 1,000 hit points already. We haven't done anything to him yet. That's about to change when we get this Hog Rider out in front of our Wizard, but it's not going to be quite enough. He drops a mini PEKKA here, which I zap to make sure that we get an extra shot on that tower, but it's just not enough. We did do a respectable amount of damage, but we've got an uphill battle on our hands right now. We did manage to take out the mini PEKKA before it got to our side of the screen, but we still have a Valkyrie. This Valkyrie will get one shot on our tower before the Musketeer takes it out. So now he drops a Furnace. Now, this is a good and a bad thing. The good thing is it pauses our Musketeer to take a couple shots. The bad thing is it didn't pause it long enough for the Barbarians to get in front. Now, this creates a huge problem. The Dark Prince comes in, takes out the Musketeer and the Barbarians with the help of those Fire Spirits. Now we're in a lot of trouble. I decide I got to get the switch down. I can't risk the Dark Prince getting a shot on that tower. Now, the tower did take it out, which means I could have waited on the Witch, which is what I wanted to do, but I couldn't take that chance. I figure we'll get the Hog Rider in front, but they both get zapped, and I lose both the Hog Rider and a Witch. Really bad elixir trade right there. Now, right here is crucial. I have to let the PEKKA take one shot before I use my zap, because I got to zap that Prince too. It was a big risk, but it had to be done. It did allow me to save that tower from a shot from the Prince, especially when I got those Barbarians down to absorb one shot. At this point, I really don't think I'm going to win. I'm not giving up, however. I dropped the PEKKA because he has no troops that go directly towards the tower, so PEKKA will distract everything and act like a temporary tower while I try to get something going here. The PEKKA manages to barely live through all that, but he's then going to absorb these Fire Spirits And now we've got to pull out all the stops. We get a Hog Rider out in front and Rage, which allows him to take out one of those furnaces. The Rage also allows the Musketeer and the Witch to take out the Fire Spirits, which I don't think the opponent was expecting. He zaps my tower again, takes it down to 6 hit points. However, my Musketeer is locked onto the tower. We've got Barbarians out in front, and it's game over at that point. It's that quick with this deck. That quickly we can turn around a match. As you can see, even knowing how good this deck is, playing it for months, I was surprised here. So that is what can certainly happen when you commit to creating that counter push, keeping the pressure on, even in the face of sure defeat. So I recommend give this deck a try, see if it works out for you. Again, I did get my current trophy count of 3,141 trophies while playing this deck. So give it a try, or build your own deck based on the rules I set. Again, you want to drop troops with the intention of creating pressure on the opponent. You don't want to get mired in defense. Always be pushing or counter pushing, and see what you come up with. What I'd really like to see is a version of this deck that has no spells. Originally, that's how it worked. Rather than Rage and Zap, I had a Baby Dragon and a Prince. Now, I don't think that was really the best other two cards I could have used, but again, that was in my early days of Arena 4 when I first started building this deck. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you think this strategy is ridiculous or if you like it. Give it a try. Let me know how this deck works out for you, or build a deck based on it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end it now. I am MC Amarabi, and happy clashing.